should be good. All right. And then the browsers. Reload that, and then I gotta make sure that reload that. That's live. How's our overlay? There's that one. Let's see. Put that up there. Show up. It does. Okay. Let's put that there. Cut that. Why does it show a little different? That is interesting. I'll have to mess with that later. All right. Hey, Anne, how's it going? How are you doing? How are you doing this fine, what is it? Noonish, I think. I don't know. How's it going, Casey? Not gonna lie, you've been better. All good. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you for sure. Where are we at here? There's that. Where's my chat window? Okay, put this over here. And then studio is over here. I don't know where the chat is. Okay. Close that. Close that. Close that. Close that. Just been up my dad's today. He shows promise, not gonna lie. He actually called me his daughter and acted like a dad to me. That's awesome. That's great, Anne. I'm assuming it doesn't normally go that way. But that's progress. Oh, there we go. I can see everything now. Put that there. Put that there. Put this here. And then that one over here. Hey, Zach, how's it going? How are you doing? Hey, thanks for helping me out the other night. I really appreciate it. I was struggling pretty badly, but it's really cool of you to be there for me. Enough of it. I didn't before then, but it was okay. And then I just decided to do it, and it was so hard, but I did it. It just took a very long time. I don't even remember how far did I get? I don't think I got all the way. No, I did. Yep. Oh. Cool. But yeah, sorry you're not feeling well. Did I not bring my water in? Oh no, I did. There it is. All right. Let me see how YouTube looks. All right. Cool. Yeah, so I'm cross streaming right now on YouTube. It's working. It looks pretty cool. Found a way to get the chat in there and all that stuff. So yeah. See if it see how it turns out. Yeah. Yep. There's a little bit of a delay, but it's not too bad. So, but yeah. I have a little bit more space there. I couldn't figure out how to make it portrait, and then I was like, well, if it has to be this way, then I'll just make more use of the sides. So. Dino up. Hopefully that's it, and not Dinoop. But anyway, how are you doing? All right, that's right. That's what I gotta do. I always forget my whole process. Because I do have the process. There we go. There we go. You happy to see me? Well, I'm happy to see you. What do we have going on today? I saw that coming. I just happened to show up on your FYP. Well, I mean, there is the algorithm, you know, and all that stuff too. So there's a little bit more to it. But yeah, yep. Here I am on your FYP, being all autistic and ADHD. Man, I'm so good at that. So good at that. Not really. That was pretty lame. But yeah, welcome in. So yeah, this is essentially what I do here is I talk about my late diagnosis. So I didn't find out that I was ADHD or autistic or any of this stuff until the day before my 43rd birthday, or the night before. And it was just kind of like a weird burnout episode that essentially left me with a bunch of memories that I remembered all of a sudden of trauma, with a bunch of ADHD and autism unmasked, and no executive function. But I talk about sort of that experience because a lot of people, turns out, like me, were, kind of slipped between the cracks when it came to the diagnoses, and are finding out when they burn out later on in life. And so there's a lot of people my age and around my age that are just recently figuring this out. So that's that. So here I am to connect people and to help them out, because it's a little jarring when you're older and you feel like you have things figured out, and then you don't, you know? But yeah. So yeah, those of you who don't know, this is being cross-streamed on YouTube as well. And there's something that's being weird here. Don't know what it is. Okay, there we go. I see what it is. Bam. All right. Sorry, had something messed up there. But yeah, so we're cross-streaming on YouTube. So anyway, a little bit about me. So the night before my 43rd birthday, I started to have started to kind of hone in on what was happening with me and my focus issues that I was having. I was doing a lot of research, just trying to figure out what it could be. And I was kind of circling in on ADHD, that's probably what it was. And then there was a little focus test online, an ASMR one that promised to, if you were ADHD, it would allow you to focus. And so I did it, and it worked. And I was able to focus for the first time in a long time. And there was a text thread with my siblings going on at the same time. And I saw that. And as soon as I saw it, I started thinking about my childhood. And then I remembered some stuff that I was told that wasn't true, and I realized wasn't true. And when I realized it wasn't true, I realized a lot of other things weren't true. And all of a sudden, I started overwhelming myself. During this overwhelming session, I discovered some nervous disorder, CPTSD. I do not know. I've tried to find the ASMR. I'll look for it again, but I've tried to find it since. So that night then, I started experiencing sort of this nerve shock, like pain that I would experience. And the pain was reminiscent of some trauma that I used to experience as a child, which triggered memories in my head happening of the event happening constantly, because my body was overwhelmed. And since it was being overwhelmed, I was getting these sharp nerve pains, which felt like pain I experienced, and it just kind of sent me into this spiral. And so it was very, very jarring and a very, very difficult time, because I remembered a lot of things. I remembered a lot of trauma that I had tucked away pretty deep on purpose. But now's the time to address it. Anyway, so I woke up the next morning completely burnt out. I could no longer mask. The ADHD was just in full force. I had like no executive function. I would walk in rooms and just be like, why am I even in here? And I would just pace around the house all day long. That's when I could get up. I had like no energy. And it took me about a month and a half before I even attempted to leave the house. and then eventually started to be able to get a little bit of a handle on the ADHD stuff. But now I'm back to non-burnout, but unmedicated. But yeah, so that's kind of like my story. It was really crazy when it played out. Now, looking in hindsight, it's not as crazy, but back then it was just insane memories happening all of a sudden. And why, how are these repressed memories coming back? Now I know how. It's just interesting to see it, you know, show up that way. Are you angry at the adults in your life who kind of missed helping you when you were a child? Not really. You know, when I think about sort of if I would have been diagnosed, okay, I would have been diagnosed in the 80s. And in the 80s, their understanding of, well, ADHD was that it was hyperactivity and that it was behavioral. And so it could be changed, right? And so they could change you to not have hyperactivity or what is now ADHD. Or it would have been misdiagnosed as something else. And then I would have possibly been on some other kind of medication that would have made it harder for me to eventually figure out what it is I actually have. You know, so it's not like if they would have done something, 100% of that outcome would have been favorable. So I'm okay with this outcome. I would have rather been diagnosed with the right stuff back then, but I'm okay with this one because back then in the 80s, what they knew about all this stuff was dangerously little, you know. But I'm angry at the adults for other things, but not for, they weren't there to help. So that's kind of the thing, you know. But yeah, thanks for asking. But see, the thing is that therapy works really good. Right after this happened, 3 days later, I was seeing a new therapist, and we were diving into trying to understand all of what I was experiencing because I had no idea what was happening. So I started unpacking a lot of this stuff right away. You know, when you have an episode like this, is definitely a, you know, not even knowing what was happening within my head was definitely, you know, concerning enough. They could have done better even without you being diagnosed, right? Well, yeah. I mean, they're responsible for my CPTSD. You know, they were abusive, and so there was other things that they could have done better at too. You know, so the thing was that it was I had a lot of things kind of going against me. There's a lot of reasons why I slipped between the cracks. For instance, it wasn't just that. I was also homeschooled from kindergarten all the way through high school, except I mostly taught myself from 4th grade on. And so there's a lot of other things too, you know, but I work in tech, pretty decent job, and I have a house, getting divorced, but, you know, was able to do a bit before I burnt out, you know? So despite all those things, still able to push through, power through. And so that's not something that I take for granted, you know? The fact that I was able to at least endure that. But, you know, it's just, I never really had like the perfect relationship with my parents. And so finding this stuff out, it wasn't like really too devastating. You know, it was just kind of like, well, I mean, it makes sense, you know? And I think a lot of it was I kind of already knew most of it. It was the things that I purposely forgot, that I made myself forget, that were very key things that would have changed the way that I viewed them the last 40 years, you know? But yeah, so, but the thing is that it's kind of like how all these things kind of play together too, because when it all happened, you know, I found out that, yes, it's most likely I have ADHD. And when I woke up the next morning, it was more than clear that I had it because all the symptoms were just there. But it was all so intertwined. Finding out that I had ADHD meant I had to find out about my trauma, which meant I had to find out I had my CPTSD. Like, they were so connected. And I think part of it was that the painful part was them trying to get rid of the hyperactivity. And so I think that may have actually played a role in why I masked it so hard. But that was also a long time ago. So I'm safe now. But we're good too. But let's talk about fun things. Bree, thank you for liking the live. How are you doing tonight? Yep. Do. But yeah, you know, I mean, the thing is, I could be better. I'm not. Good evening from Baltimore, Maryland. Food traveler, be more. Baltimore. Food traveler, Baltimore. Welcome in Australia midday there. Well, hello. Yep, welcome in too. But yeah, how are things there? Is it cold? I hear it's cold. I am in Southern California where it is hot. Yeah, so what do I talk about? Trying to remember. I cleaned the kitchen before I started the live, so that's a win. I didn't just come straight for the live. But yeah, just pretty low-key day. It was the kids' first day of school. I went and saw them after school before they went with their mom, and you know, they had a good day. But now they were with mom until Friday, and then Friday they're back over here for the weekend. So yep, just got a couple days of stuff. I got going to the doctor tomorrow, so that'll be fun. Gonna have them actually take a look at the nerve pain and start to do a more serious investigation into it. My house is a mess. Think got worse after COVID and getting older, masking for life and living alone. Yeah. I feel like COVID definitely accelerated a lot of that stuff because a lot of people probably unmasked just not having to be around people, you know? And so then when they finally had to go back out and they didn't put their mask on, things were weird, right? Because it was a while that nobody really saw anyone, you know? Like a few months, like at least 6 or 7 months, you know? It was a while. Actually, it was almost a year, I think. Over a year. Yeah, nerve pain. Yeah, so it's part of my CPTSD. My trauma that I experienced resulted in nerve pain. So I have like some nerves that are damaged due to it, and so you know, one of the things that I did when I did discover all this stuff was I started getting into somatic therapy, which is kind of listening to your body, that kind of stuff. And I was doing that kind of the year before because I had this GI issue and my stomach was just really messed up. And so I would have to really pay attention to my stomach to figure out, like, am I going to get sick? Like, all that stuff. But yeah, so then when the ADHD stuff happened, kind of like the same thing. I just took an interest in like my brain, like what's happening and all that stuff. And when it came to like overstimulation and all that, what ended up happening was I realized I have sensory sensitivity. I remembered having it as a child and I kind of thought it went away, but it didn't go away. I just internalized it and I didn't realize I did. If you would have asked me if I liked loud noises as a kid, I would have said, no, I didn't like it as a kid, but eventually I grew out of it. But I didn't grow out of it. I internalized it. When I burnt out, I was no longer internalizing it. So I just woke up one day and had this sensory sensitivity. I had to use noise canceling headphones all the time all of a sudden. And it was just like all the sound was too much because I was overstimulated, from the burnout, and so it was really difficult. Bree, thank you for the follow. It was really difficult. Let's see. Actually, most people accepted getting infected with a very harmful virus over and over again. Yeah. There was, well, I don't know. I guess it depends where you were, because I know that there are definitely some areas that had a little bit more of a adherence to that versus others. Not everybody was consistent in how they protected themselves. ADHD, dyslexia, crazy how much it is all connected. Pain and trauma and meeting people the same. Yeah, absolutely. And it is weird because like, how is it that like with neurodivergence, there's trauma in so much of it, like real trauma? We don't all have trauma, but how come a lot of neurodivergence do? It's just 4 times more likely, actually, but it's just, why? Are we that sensitive? I know I am, but is it as a whole? Is that the reason why? I get more anxiety, depression right now. I was feeling stressed, worrying about myself. Autism. Well, what are you worried about yourself? I had my therapy session. I'm getting their DBT therapy recommended to me. It's a bitch. That's awesome. That's awesome. DBT therapy is going to change your life. It changed my life because like 2 months after the stuff above happened, I started spiraling. I did not know who I was and things were just falling apart. And I ended up eventually in a DBT outpatient program, and learning DBT changed everything. And I'm not overselling it. Go in it with a curious mind, be curious about yourself, curious about your behaviors, and you will thrive. You will do amazing. Okay. What else else we do? Emotional regulation therapy. Well, DBT comes with emotional regulation, but emotional regulation, it's a module. Emotional regulation therapy, I'm sure, is much more a part of it, but you'll get a taste of that in DBT too, so there'll be a lot of crossover. Hey man, I had a full-on meltdown at work today for no reason, just ranting. I embarrassed myself. Yeah, I've been there. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's rough. Give yourself some grace, okay? I mean, it's harder, right? And stuff catches up with us a lot easier, so, give yourself grace. It's a nice way of saying cut yourself some slack, but really, it's rough. It's cool. It's okay that's rough. Kind of wonder if a lot of neurotypicals have unexplored trauma too. I mean, that could be it as well. Maybe neurodivergents are a little bit more introspective, a little bit more, in their heads, thinking, right? Thinking about stuff, analyzing things, that's quite possible too. I got ADHD, CPTSD, dyslexia too. Old greasy chips, welcome in. But where's your autism? Where's your autism at? Yeah, welcome in. Welcome in. Okay. Also, thank you for holding the space for us to vent. We really appreciate it. It's a bitch. I appreciate you. I do. I know that it's been a little rough for you, lately. I am so thrilled that you're getting into DBT and doing emotional regulation, because I'm telling you, it changes everything. It's so awesome. So awesome. And just like I said, just be curious about yourself. Keep asking why, wonder why. And then you'll really know, because there will always be an answer for why. When I have an introspective or dark thought, I tell my partner, I'm stuck in here with me too. Yeah. I mean, it's hard because, there's just like so much that like is just outside of our control, Oh, that's kind of looking all weird. You ever tiz them out some days? If you mean have meltdowns, yeah, multiple times a day. But I'm also like burnout, so I get overwhelmed very easily. Like even right now, my legs are shaking. I am stimming like a mofo. We do think different. Yes, we do. Even just the way we approach things, but it's not like bad. It's just different, I was not labeled as gifted as a kid, no. But granted, I didn't really see anyone outside of my family until I was like in my late teens. So but I feel like if I was able to go to school, I probably would have been figured out. Because I struggled with a lot of things like reading. I very much cannot read because I can't remember a page after I read it if I go and move on to a next page. My attention span just doesn't allow that. Do I prefer isolation? Unfortunately, yeah. But see, this is the part that is really difficult for me, is that I'm comfortable with isolation, and I feel like part of that is the autistic part in, just like the social awkwardness that comes with that, just the difficulties overall. But I also crave connection. Like I want to have like deep discussions with people. I want to get to know people on like deep, intimate levels, and just like I crave that type of connection with people. But at the same time, it's uncomfortable being around people. So it's this kind of, it's this weird thing you get caught in, Please try to look into. I can't talk about the C word here. It's gonna get me in trouble. Same, bro. I'm so comfortable with isolation that I feel like I'm wasting a portion of my life. Yeah, you know, I kind of feel that way too, especially since being separated. You know, because not having someone else here, that kind of bounce energy off of and everything, you're kind of like on your own. And I didn't have any. So, you know, I'm still recovering. Still like when it's just me, like I don't really have a routine. I don't really know what's going on. So, it's a work in progress thing, It's a work in progress. But I definitely feel like I'm wasting time, you know. Yeah, my meds make my anxiety worse. Trying to get put on non-stimulants now. I hear that non-stimulants can be pretty effective too, So, but yeah, definitely making anxiety worse. Yes, don't love small talk, but want to talk about anything, and then after feeling exhausted after. Yeah, but you know what? Like I love that. Like if I was able to have like a deep discussion about people's passions, the things that motivate them and drive them, and me as an empath, being able to feel that excitement, being able to understand what they're talking about and understand, why they're so passionate about it, and to be able to feel their passion, I like to know that stuff about people, because those are the things that make people who they are, you know? And so I want to be worn out from discussion. Not right now. I'm already feeling pretty tired. But yeah. Yeah. But anything but small talk. Like really, like I don't mind, like if I go to like a party or something, or I'm around people or anything like that, like I'll do small talk with people, but really like anyone at any time can dive into like deep conversations. Like, let's go. Let's actually talk about something that matters. Let's not be fake. Let's not do this social aspect of trying to put on a front. Like, let's get real for a second, you know? That's how you really get to know people, is being real. It's okay to be tired. I know. I have to know that. I've been tired my whole life. These streams help me talk about what I'm thinking. My family doesn't get how I think. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that is really, really helpful about being able to jump onto these communities and these lives and stuff, is that you're able to find people who can relate to you, and also possibly help you describe things in ways you never were able to, that you can then go and return to other people as well and say, here's more information, here's more on my experience, but I'm happy to be able to help, with any of that. I think I'm about to get some more water here. You're welcome. You're welcome. And anytime, really. I'm going to go get some more water. So, BRB, ASAP. All right, we're back. But yeah, I'm happy to be able to help out. However, you know, the reason why I do these lives, you know, and I've mentioned it a few times, is when all this happened, I felt very alone. You know, I felt like, who in the world does not realize they have all this stuff for over 40 years? You know, like, I must be just that dumb, you know? I thought so much about myself, and I was very alone. And it wasn't until I started to realize that I wasn't alone that I started to feel better. But it took me a while to realize I wasn't alone. And so that's why I'm here, because there's been plenty of times where I've been live, I've had this up, and people have come in and said, oh my gosh, that happened to me. And they've never been on a mental health chat before, you know? So, I don't know, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to be able to turn a messed up story into something that can be positive for others. You were diagnosed ADHD and autism when you were 7? Yeah, so, you know, and I'm sure even then the criteria for autism has probably been expanded even more too, because I think I wouldn't have been labeled autistic like probably 10 years ago. You know, because my symptoms wouldn't have been severe enough, right? Because I'm high masking. But yeah, so I mean, it's good on you though for you know, having obviously the attention of, you know, the people who were taking care of you, to be able to get the diagnoses and everything. And you know, have you been able to thrive, you know, get the support that you needed and all that stuff? You know, do you feel like you are supported fully, and that you are kind of given the capability to, you know, thrive? I don't know what autism testing looks like, because that's the only one that's a self-diagnosis. But I don't want an official diagnosis right now, mainly because of what's happening within the political landscape. But my main autistic traits are sensory sensitivity. I have tons of meltdowns. Literal thinking. For me, it's like a very, 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 very deep-rooted literal thinking. And then I mentioned a sensory sensitivity. What else is there? Meltdowns. There was another one. Can't remember what it is. Social issues. Social, you know, dysfunction. Yeah. It kind of helped me when it came to stop not liking myself. Yeah, that's one of the things that I realized kind of early on. You know, when I got the diagnosis, I was pretty bummed out. But then once I realized, oh, ADHD is that thing in my life. Oh, it's this thing. And I started to kind of realize the commonality. I realized, oh, that's all the stuff that I hate about myself. That's all the stuff I never liked about myself. Like, if I can get rid of that stuff, if I can figure out how to manage it, great, because I've tried. And one of the first things I did was just kind of identify, well, it wasn't my fault, you know, and I had to make sure that I understood that, you know, apologizing to myself, making sure that I knew that it wasn't my fault. You know, I didn't know that I was going to have these issues. I didn't know I had these issues, you know. But yeah. My sensory issues are through the roof. I need a diagnosis for work purposes, unfortunately. Yeah. You know, if you have to get them for those purposes, that's fine. Now, do you need it for work accommodations? Because you could have a doctor just say that you have it, like if I mean, the thing is that the doctor would have to believe you, but also be treating you for it. But you know, the thing is that for like sensory issues and stuff, what I've noticed that a lot of it has to do with overwhelm. And so there's a lot of medication that like controls like nervous overwhelm and stuff that I feel like could be possibly useful, but it's something you'd have to talk to like a psychiatrist about. Because I mean, I'm definitely not qualified for that, but I feel like if you go in and you talk more about your symptoms, you may have a better outcome. Yeah, knowing this about myself rather early helped me when it came to deciding about my future. Yeah, you know, I feel like that would have helped me too, to be honest. You know, I didn't really until recently kind of figure out what it was that I should get into. You know, you're about to become a kindergarten teacher. That's great. That's great. You know, my son's kindergarten teacher has ADHD, had ADHD, still does, but she's not his teacher anymore. And I forgot what happened or whatever, but I mean, I didn't even know until the last day. And I said something and I was getting distracted. I said, sorry, I get easily distracted. And she's like, oh, don't worry, I have ADHD too. So she was like, I know. But it was cool because my son has ADHD. So it's just kind of cool when you run into people who get it, you know, and you get to be one of those people who get it. And that's going to be really cool. It's going to be really cool for the kids who are just sort of discovering that, because my son, it breaks my heart. He says, I forget things a lot and it takes me a while to think of things. It breaks my heart every time he says that, because he's also in speech therapy. So when he talks with intent, you know. But he's a cute kid. He's a very, very cute kid. Yeah. My son is lucky. You know what? I am a good dad. I am. I swore I would be. And I did. That's I think what made it difficult. You know, so the trauma, a lot of this stuff I packed away. It was having a son who was the same age as me, who looked just like me, who acted just like me. It was having him that made me realize it, because I was like, I realized how much I loved him, and then I was thinking, but how could parents do that? You know? And so it didn't make sense. It just didn't make sense to me. And I've realized that most of my trauma is when things just don't make sense. I mean, big stuff, but when they don't make sense, and them not making sense is what keeps me traumatized. Because I like need to know, I guess. I don't know. Dino up you. Yeah. You're gonna do great. You know. I did break the cycle. I did. I had to take the last blow. But I took it so my son didn't have to. So, and the thing is that doesn't mean job's done there. Like, I still need to teach my son about kindness and patience and empathy and love, because it doesn't mean that just because he didn't get it, he's not going to revert to doing the same thing. You know, he may. These things can be behavioral hereditary in some way, you know, like just because of the environment you're raised in. So the job is to continue to just instill values, and I mean, I think even someday maybe I'll tell them, you know. I don't think they're going to be seeing grandma anytime soon, you know? So. Yeah. Jackie, how's it going? Thank you for liking the live. It's a lot of likes. Oh my gosh. I just remembered something. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Go cheer him on. I pulled my quad muscle during warm-ups for slow pitch softball. So I stopped playing. I retired at that point. Couldn't really get through the warm-ups. It was more hilarious than anything because I'm like, geez, I just like wanted to like just have fun and like, oh man, I'm just like so not athletic, I guess. I don't know. It was so silly. Especially then it was warm up. That's slow pitch. Yeah. So, what are you gonna do? Sister-in-law did that with wrestling, tore her ACL on day one. Oh, oh, yeah, no. My pain is never funny. Yeah, well, I mean, it was more just ironic that I got the injury during warm-ups. It wasn't even during the game, you know? Um, I hit my own leg with a bowling ball tonight. I get it. I can't tell you how many times I've done that. And I laugh at myself. I'm not laughing at you. Because why do I do that? Like I feel like my arms are like Neanderthal, like all the way down to like my feet, you know? They hurt though. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it gets you kind of like in the side of the knee, you know. Yeah. It doesn't feel good. Um, I don't know. Doesn't feel good. Oh yeah, and for those of you who don't know, we are cross streaming on YouTube right now. Oh my gosh, yeah. I regrettably taught some kids some spicy language. Oh no. Oh no, Northern Virginia sucks. What did you teach these poor innocent children? And what do you think their parents are gonna think? What are they gonna say to their parents? I had a semi-autistic meltdown at Walmart today because they didn't have the one I purchased since 22. Like the item or whatever. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I get it. My emotions have been pretty crazy. I've been doing like a lot of like intense therapy and stuff too. There's been other reasons, but that's been one of them. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like I'm just like emotionally like I don't know. Not on edge, but not fatigued. Just like I don't know, mid-marathon. Finally have therapy scheduled for Monday. Awesome. I had my therapy appointment today. And it was a good one. I was really happy to I think I missed my therapist appointment last week. Or I hadn't. We talked about something else. I don't remember. But this week, it was just talking about some of the divorce stuff. Semi-autistic meltdown. It's well, for me, it's this like overwhelming feeling that comes that you cannot control, that just kind of like takes you over. For me, it's kind of like just this weird like feeling that I get, that I don't know, like you get like overwhelmed with like just emotion, like not any kind, but just like too much emotion. And it's like a lot of things at once. Yeah. But yeah. Oh, that's how you do it. Yeah. Yeah. See, for me, I mask a lot of that part. I definitely feel that, but like my whole body just gets tense. You know what I mean? And so like I can't necessarily like move. You know. Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, I've kind of like been in that sort of a, I don't know, spot. Well, and I think it's just talking about the same thing then. Yeah. Aw, that's great. Yeah. Um, yeah. It's just yeah, it kind of sneaks up on you, or at least that's what it does for me. Um, it gives me sort of like, um, I don't know. It's just like one of those things for me. It happens like I said multiple times a day, but it's more just like I just get to a point where it's like I just get like emotionally deadlocked, you know, um, or I don't know, emotionally constipated, something like that. No, 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 no. I think it was just like a misunderstanding of the terms used and the way things are phrased and everything. We're all talking about the same thing. I was just clarifying that we're all talking about the same thing. My meltdown today had zero warning, no trigger, just frustration and crying. Whew. I've had those a few times, you know. Um, yeah, emotionally constipated. Yeah. Um, but yeah. Um, I don't. I'll get a warning usually with mine, but the thing is that the warning is essentially, can I hold it in for a little bit, right? Can I contain it somehow? Because a lot of times I can contain it, and I can just like redirect it, and a lot of times it'll just internalize it, and then I'll start like shaking, and so I gotta like stem, find something to like really focus on moving, to just keep myself moving. Otherwise I'll just stem or rock like crazy. Let me see. I have to ask if I want to take red ones to their freak out or go on concert. Yeah. And it kind of sucks when you have to like decide those kinds of things, right? You have to decide how you're going to do with it, so yeah. But for me, like, I don't know, my medication still isn't like working that well, Yeah, self-sedation. I don't know. I feel like wait, what are you doing there, buddy? My dog's tearing something up. I try and make things goofy or cute because it's sad, but I don't want to be sad all the time, right? Right? The thing is that like I feel like CTG, thank you for the I heart you. Ooh, ooh. That was a thing. I don't remember what that thing is, but it was a thing. Yeah, I really struggle with yeah. It's I don't know. My meltdown always becomes emotional. You know, it's just, and so it ends up resulting in crying. But I really don't know how to cope with it yet. You know, helping young people with individual emotional self-regulation is key. Yeah. That's one of the things I've been trying to like teach my kids is emotional regulation. Got my daughter a children's DBT book. She wanted it. So yeah, I mean, there's some emotional regulation going around. But I mean, that only makes it easier for me, right? Because then I don't have to, we can talk about, you know, the arguing and stuff, right? You know, it's just, the thing is that my kids are just as literal as I am, and everything's just so literal. So it's kind of easy to be like, oh, okay, yeah, that works. So, do do do. Um, Snacks Conan, thank you for the follow. Um, oh man. I feel like I will probably take a break on live for like maybe an hour because there's going to be that reset anyway. But I'm going to go for a walk or something. I need to get out before it gets too dark, even though it's kind of already dark-ish. All right, yeah, sounds good. See you later, Jackie. Have fun. Root them on. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining and for all that stuff. I'm gonna go for a walk, but my normal go live time is 6 a.m. every day Pacific time. And yeah, so catch me on live then. Give me a follow if you want to be notified when I go live. You can go to my profile and hit the bell. Besides that, thank you everyone for being a part of this and helping create this safe space. Have yourself a good rest of your evening, and I will probably be back in an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, but most likely an hour. Okay. All right. Bye, everyone. Take care. Maybe 2 hours, but most likely an hour. Okay. All right. Bye, everyone. Take care. What happened? What happened? What happened? There we go.
There we go.